Welcome to Journey Through the Gate, your paranormal portal podcast, as we delve into the many questions and wonders brought on by the supernatural experience. What's on the other side of the gate? Let's find out together. I love this picture of the space kitty. Oh my goodness. One man for the job. And it's a cat. Here you go. Hello. Welcome, gatekeepers. Boy, it seems like it's been a really long week. I don't know. Have you guys had a long week too? My ombre hair is working through. Look at this. Oh my goodness. Au naturel. It's been years and years and years. I put henna on my hair. And I just said, you know what? My granny was 98. She had gray hair. Yeah, pissed off space kitty. That's right, Ted. And I figured, you know what? Let's go and see. Maybe I'll get lucky and I'll have something really cool like a Bonnie Raitt streak or, like a, who was that? The Bride of Frankenstein who had that great stuff. So welcome in everybody. Hello, Uncommon. Thank you for all you've done this week. You are absolutely a spectacular person, and I'm proud to know you. Glenn, love you. Hi, sweetie. How you doing? We're going to need you on the next one's coming up. How's your shark history? Start looking into that, Glenn. Vixen, Doe, Ted, Renice, I look forward to these two. I really need it this week. D-Rock, pancakes and bacon. How you doing, sweetie? Welcome in, Kathleen. No, I'm not 98. My granny was 98. No, I am, gosh. I will be the year I was born this year. That's like a little clue. No, I'm 61 and they were hurt some hard years, so it's a wonder I'm sitting up here. Renice, if I again, what you said, we need this. We need to come together. We need to get this energy. I think it's been a week for everybody. Has your energy gone really off the hizzy this week? Everybody has, but I'll tell you, even in my life, everywhere I looked, everybody was having issues at home and everything else. But here's the thing. When there's real love involved, I think once the energies can settle and, things like that, and you just go at it with care and love, you can sort it and you can figure it all out. And that's what we always say on this show. Everybody gets angry. Everybody gets scared. Fear creeps in. The world's crazy. The world's on fire. And, when it comes close to your home or someone you care about or yourself, the reality hits. But you've got to move through those emotions. First it's shock or fear or worry or being scared or whatever. Try to, don't deny those feelings. Move through it. But also try to remember in love when you're dealing with, somebody you care about or they're, working with you. You have to remember if you go at it in love, even if you're angry, or I think a lot of times we strike out when we are scared or feel threatened. You're defensive. Oh gosh, Ted, thank you so much. What a kind person you are. Thank you so much, Ted. You're a great friend to this show and this podcast and everybody in here. Ted, you're always giving comments under the videos. It helps so much, and thumbs up and encouraging everybody in here. And I thank you for being here. And I'm proud to call you a friend. And I hope the Waggy Tails are doing good. But see, that's the thing. And thank you so much. It goes right to the show. I tell you that and I mean it. But I think that that's the big thing. That's the big answer. If you can go at it in love, even if you've got that one relative that's just always causing, things, tell them, look, I love you. I can't help you through this. You're going to have to sort this yourself. That person that's always calling and draining you. Or, if it's a person at work, um, it's been crazy from Mother's Day week for me through, as far as, floral designer. And you wonder what could be so crazy. Well, when you work in a place that has no start time and no end time, and the boss just keeps taking in stuff, you never know when you're going home. You never know when you can schedule things, when you can go and have dinner, or you can go home and make dinner, or go home and just plain eat dinner. Um, it's really difficult, and it creates a lot of stress. And I'd go in there and I'm like, look, I work for myself too, and it's just as important. I got to go home. I was doing, the end of Belisca and researching for some other things, and you got to do editing, and that takes time. It's when you work for yourself, people don't take it as serious. You put your heart and soul into something, and, because you're not going somewhere and punching a clock or something like that. Sometimes they don't take it serious. And that can happen to anybody that does for themselves. Like if you're a musician and you're playing out, welcome, Emily. If you're a musician and you're working for yourself, or if you're an author and you need to spend time in your office or whatever. So the thing is this, if it's important to you, you do it, and you firmly plant your feet, and you tell people that, even if they don't understand, that it's just as important for you to be in that work environment, probably more so, because nobody can replace you. Not that you're so special, but if you're working for yourself, who's going to replace you to do that? Right. So that's how I kind of got through. I tell people, look, I'm only working to this time. If you guys want to stay here till 3 o'clock in the morning, it's absolutely insane. I've worked in this industry for many years on and off, along with several others. And I can tell you that if you're going to work your employees like that, you're really not getting your dollar's worth. People need to sleep. They need to eat. They need to know when they're coming in, when they're going home. This can create a lot of stress. So everywhere I looked this past 2 weeks, on top of getting some kind of horrible allergies or something else, there's a lot of stuff going around. Why am I telling you this? I'm telling you this because every single person out here is going through something. Hey, Jack, welcome in, sweetie. Everybody, even if you're like by yourself or whatever, it might be at the office or with family, the world is nuts. And that's why I went ahead and put that intro up again, because you got to remember, you can't fix everything. You can't make everybody see it your way. But if you can move past the defensive emotions, the fear, the striking back, the insults, and just get down to the love and go, okay, where's everybody at and what do we need to do? And remember to treat that person, listen to them, hear them through, understand what they're going through, and then try to sort it. And if you can't, you can't, but you tried. I think too many people are jumping. The news is filled with people losing their minds in the streets, at the the Starbucks, at the grocery store, in the parking lots, on the highways. Try to gray man through it. But if something comes up, try to understand what I just said, because it can take a while. If you need to walk away and take some time and think about it and sort it and go, why am I feeling this way? Okay, that one's fear. Why this one's shock. This one's, whatever. So sort your feelings. And if you sort yours, you can maybe sort the other person's or the other people and understand. And then you have to draw a line and go, I can't fix that. I have family members that still don't talk to me because of certain things that have happened, like before the lockdowns and stuff like that. And, other people and I'm sure everybody here is going through that kind of thing where something happened and that was it. You just shut the door. That's what you got to do for your own sanity. Do it. Do it. Because we all can't go crazy at the same time. Does that make any sense? Take a deep breath and breathe. That's right, Renise. And breathe and just think, okay, sort it out. I'm feeling this way because I was shocked, or I'm feeling this way because I'm scared what these. Listen, all these people I'm going in, they're like, we've been working 120 hours. And I look at this young 24-year-old and I'm going, I guarantee you're going to get a good check. Use it wisely. Walk away. I'm not going to feel guilty that you chose you make bad choices in your life. I'm making mine. Okay. And I did it. Good. Hello, Tom. Welcome in. Welcome in. I did it when I was younger. I had to pay the mortgage. I had to feed the kids. I had to do the stuff. I'm 61 years old. I'm going to sort my time a little smarter now. You have to. Please do the same. Do what's important to you and don't let anybody take that from you. Fight for it. I don't care if you're writing a book or if you're doing poetry or if you're a musician or whatever. Now, today, I had the delight to go out for a short time. We had some errands to run. My son and I stopped in and just had a quick little, appetizer meal or whatever at the Applebee's. And it was so funny because you wonder, why did I pick this right now? I very rarely do anything like that, Applebee's, whatever. It just happened to be convenient. It was in the mall. And it happened to be that the bartender was a young man and he was signing, I saw him signing with a special pen. Well, it's this artist pen. It's a super fine marker. And as soon as I picked it up, I looked at him and I said, he's an artist, because only artists carry these. These are the pen of sketch artists. And I asked him, I said, are you an artist? And he said, yes, I am. And he showed me his pictures. And I said, look, I do this podcast and I honor a lot of artists, a lot of gift artists, and people that are putting wonderful art out there into the world. So would you like to get your art features on my podcast? I'd love to do it for you. Local artist, it'd be great. And he was just lit right up. And the stuff that he has done of his own hand is absolutely amazing. These beautiful portraits and things like that. So gave him my email, tell him, get a hold of me. We'll feature you on here. We'll put it to a beautiful music from a wonderful artist composer that we're featuring that night. And just love to do it because it brings light into the world. It supports creativity. And that was lovely. And as we're talking about it, I was talking about an upcoming episode because I went to the Barnes and Noble and I got a book and we were talking about it. And the lady next to me, when she heard me say that about the podcast, she said, man, I knew the way you were talking. Yeah, me too, Renice. It's going to be wonderful. I can't wait for him his name is Andrew. So if you're out there, Applebee's Andrew, absolutely contact me. This chat and these listeners would love to see your art. Absolutely. And please do it. I wasn't joking. So lady sitting next to me, she said, the way you were talking about the book, she said, I could tell you were something, you were, an interviewer or something else, because she said, I hadn't heard people talk about something like that in that way. And I said, well, that's kind of what we do on the podcast, even if it's true crime or if it's a haunting or if it's, anything metaphysical, paranormal, conspiracy, fun stuff, any of that. I said, that's what we try to do. We try to dissect it. We try to draw out the facts, sort it through the chat and everybody listening, all these different minds on the subject, and bring it out and try to glean the truth and the fascination of it all, because so many things have happened in our history. Stories are like untold, and should be told, or they're told and they're told wrong for whatever reason, to change a narrative or, one person, to make it seem like one person won a war when they really didn't. It's like they say that saying that history is told by the victors kind of thing. And there's so many things lost, so many heroic tales and things like that lost. So what book am I talking about? Well, I went down and got it. And through this crazy week, I've been really studying something that I thought was very interesting. And I think you'll recognize if I do this little tune. How about this? Bum, 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 bum. Bum, 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 bum. I wonder if I can flip this so you can see it better. I know it's backwards, but it's 12 Days of Terror. And it is about the inside and shocking 1916 New Jersey shark attacks. And this was put out on, this is the 100th anniversary edition. Now, when I was looking up the author, and let's see, whoop, whoop. We're going to need a bigger boat. Exactly. So I was looking up the author and I was listening to some interviews from a fascinating man. He is an MD, a general, what do you call it, practitioner. And when I looked it up, he lives in my town, not very far from me. So I'm trying to get a hold of him. He's a very busy man. He's still very busy. Yeah, quit. A very busy physician, but I'm hoping I can get him on here somewhere in the near future. I'm hoping to start this story tomorrow with Steve. Steve knows about it. We love nostalgia. And I figured, shoot, we just left 1912, right? Villisca Axe murders. Why does my hair look purple? That's crazy. It's ombre, but I assure you there's no purple in it. It's just the way the light's coming on. It's mostly gray, salt and pepper, blonde, red, it's ombre, like I said. So was he from Scotland, Ted? That's cool. So we're going to see if we can do that. But nonetheless, it's a wonderful story. It's got wonderful pictures. If you don't know the story, you will by the time we're done. You know how we do things here, Jaws. Yeah. So basically, the reason you guys are talking about Jaws and things like that is because of this book. Jaws was based on the true story, now very loosely based on the true story of the shark attacks of 1916, which happened here along the Jersey coast, right where I am, not far. I can remember my mom going and, dancing at the Essex and Sussex and Spring Lake right there on, right on the other side of the boardwalk. And one of the first people killed worked there as, they called him like a umbrella boy, or he was very much like the guy that would go and get your luggage, a bellboy. But there was a little bit more to that, because whether it was raining or not, when the women got out of the cars, the sun was so strong, they would bring the umbrellas out. People were so delicate back then. But and I think tough in a lot of ways too. But anyhow, it's a very interesting story. Robert Shaw, who played Quint, is really very loosely based on a real character. And we will talk about him in the book. But here's the thing. Just like I said in the beginning, when you're talking about these stories, they've been, changed along the way and everything else. This man has really studied this. He studied it for like 5 to 7 years before he ever started writing it. A lot of people around here have looked up and, tried to find out what happened to some of the survivors and, and stuff like that. But it was also an interesting evolution of what they knew, what they thought they knew, and what they found out after the actual attacks happened and things like that. And I believe, just like any crisis or thing like that, the heroes always come out. Amazing stories of things, different things people did. So we're going to talk about that. Steve and I are going to start that tomorrow night. I've been talking to him about it, and yep, last year had some shark attacks here in, let me see, Vixen. Last year had some shark attacks here in May, and last summer one victim was only in water up to her knees. That's it. The frightening part of that was that so many of these were so close to shore, and I always say this just in, there are sharks in the water. When I was 13, I remember, well, maybe 12, my sister gave me the book Jaws. She said, I think you're old enough now to read this. I had no idea. Now the book is so different. You get out of the water. And I'll tell you, there's other stuff in the water too that scares me. Those microorganisms and, bacteria and stuff can make you really suffer too. Trust me. But I remember she handed me the book and I read it and I kept it with me for a long time. It was always in my suitcase or whatever. And I never went back in the water. Now I can't really blame it on the book Jaws. It was long before the movie. But I had a near-death experience and drowned. And I've told you guys about that when I was under the water and I was out of my body watching myself be turned or upside down. And I was caught in the undertow and somehow blacked out, wound up on the shore. far in from where the surf would have dumped me. Like somebody pulled me out and left me there. And when I woke up, the first thing I saw was the blood that was coming from my chin and mixing with the water, that, just the foam of the waves was coming up. And I remember it. That's kind of what woke me up. Of course, covered with sand and really hurting. I was really scraped up bad and coughing up water. And I looked around, and somebody had to pull me out of that water, but there were no footprints leading away from me. And the closest people that were near me was a little family, on a blanket, just, yards away, and were just noticing me as I was getting up, and the mom, like, yelling stuff like, "Oh, see her, she's okay." So I didn't go in because of that. The undertow had gotten me. But once I read Jaws, that was it, because I live right near one of the largest great white breeding grounds. It's between here and Staten Island, and they seem to be full of glee on the news when they tell you, well, we've got a 25 foot great white shark, named Bernie or whatever, that we're tracking, and he's just 25 miles off the coast, and here's swimmers. I'm like, oh my gosh, what are you doing? Oh, and those are just the ones that are tagged. You can watch them going back and forth. So it's an interesting story of a shark that did some crazy things that were unexpected, but taught a lot of people, killed a couple innocent people in a horrible way, but really set forth a study of these creatures, because back then they really didn't know that much about them, and I'll tell you a little bit about that tomorrow. So that's that. Now, tonight, I wanted to talk a little bit about, we've taken every aspect kind of paranormal and hauntings and ghostly whatnots. What are you guys saying? You're crazy. Yeah, I mean, really, it was crazy. It's in the book. I really get into detail with it, like how I saw it and everything. It's kind of hard to just pull up because, again, when you're going back over something like that, that was a close call. I mean, I should have probably been gone at that point, but it's in the book, and it's, I explain a little bit more about how I felt and what went on. And that was during that period of time. I think it was not long after that, maybe a year later, I was pulled out in front of it, when I was almost walked in front of a bus, and I was pulled back and thrown back onto my butt on the sidewalk, and nobody was there. So for some reason, we all think I was supposed to be here for something. So again, I go back to what I was talking about in the beginning. We are going to have battles. They're not going to be pretty. It might be with a sister, it might be with a friend, it might be with a spouse or a child, or a stranger. Try to sort it and remember that you love these people. I mean, if you do. If you don't, then you just need to be the light and be that one that just sorts it and walks away. You don't have to win everything. You don't have to win everybody. You just need to take care of you. And I think we need to care about those we care about. Sometimes those, take care of those we care about. And sometimes that means just leaving them alone. Like family I have that absolutely breaks my heart that I can't sit and have conversations with them. But I know me. I've known me all my life. And when I get to a certain point, I've gone as far as I can without really horrible stuff coming out of my mouth, because I'm going to tell you the truth. At this point, I'm too old to be, sitting there pretending. Don't put yourself in those situations. Sometimes people just need to be left alone for a while. And I'm dealing a lot with that with family, uh, older siblings and people that, that it's like we've had 2 or 3 years of Thanksgiving dinner at the folks' house, where you're stuck at the table with people. You just like, what, am I really related to these people? One of those. So there you go. Thank you, Renice. You've helped me. Every single one of you helped me, because you've given me a reason to get my shit together and be here on Sunday, no matter what's happening, unless I'm so sick that I can't see straight, to come up with something Um, interesting to talk about, even if it seems like it's silly. We're still learning stuff together about the paranormal or true crime or whatever it may be, or history, or conspiracy. And we put that out together. It's not just me saying this is the way it is. You guys like shake your head. So you guys have helped me understand clues I didn't get. I wanted to go back, speaking of which, at the very beginning here, and I'm going to read what you guys are putting here, but I wanted to go back before I forget. Thank you again, Ted. You're just wonderful. I believe it's not even raining. What am I singing? Okay, it was Sarah. Okay. Do you remember last week in Paranormal Velisca when Amy had the drawing of who they said was probably Kelly in the barn, and we talked about why I felt that Kelly didn't leave and why she felt that it's a possibility, although she didn't know a lot about the case beforehand. So that you have to take that into consideration. She didn't realize a lot about the case. She was honest and said, I knew there had been an axe murder here. I knew there were children involved, yada, yada, but she didn't know all the details. I think he didn't go in because it wasn't his murder and he felt like he had to stay back. I do think he was involved. I do think he saw it, what I said last week, and he may have gone in after the fact, and did some things. Although the doors were locked, there were 2 windows that were unlocked. So it would have been very easy for somebody like Lynn Kelly to go in a window or, some other way. But now that you ask that, Sarah, the cap could have been a train cap. It's not one that he wore. None of the pictures, none of the times he showed up in town in any of the, pictures, he had this like gray felt hat that he wore, very worn, beaten, worn. When you said that, I thought to myself, what if he was wearing like a train conductor's cap as a clue? Man from the train. Nice going, Sarah. I absolutely believe that could be true. Because why would he show that to her? Why would he come different than himself, what he used to be? Isn't that amazing? It's possible. It's possible because he also, a lot of people call him by name. And that's why I say, too, that I don't believe the serial killer's there because, excuse me, I'm still getting over this stuff. So if you think about it, it makes sense that if he felt like I have to hang back, I'm a watcher kind of thing. I'm hanging in the barn. He wouldn't go anywhere near the house. This makes so much sense to me because that cap bugged the heck out of me because when she was telling him about the drawing, they don't show much of that. She'll say, well, the eyes were bigger or the nose was sharper. He had sunken cheeks or whatever she describes. And of course, that's a lot longer than they show you. They show you highlights on the show. And they never got to ask her about the pictures. But if the picture is correct, and that's, as she says, yes, that's what I saw. What if it was his little psychotic way of the train? Because again, you can't tell me that the same person didn't do a lot of these because of the way the things were pinned. It's the way they were pinned, the way it was hung, the way this was moved. An MO, a very strict MO. And it only changed with either the weather or the weapon. Dr. Epperly and I talked about another murder that happened. I cannot remember in what state. I apologize. But there was no axe, which is odd. I'm not to say there wasn't a wood pile, but maybe the axe was put up. Maybe it was in a different place. I don't know, but it wasn't at the ready. But there was some kind of a lead pipe that was almost like a tea pipe. And he used that. So, but all the rest was very, very similar. And it's very interesting, to think of somebody doing something like that. Very broken individual would have to be to do something like that. But how interesting that as a ghost or as an essence, this Kelly would come through, not leave the barn, and possibly be wearing a train conductor's cap. What an interesting little twist. Thank you guys for paying attention, because this is why this show is so good. And it's good because of you guys. You guys throwing that information out there. That cap just bugged the heck out of me. Choo-choo, right, Ted? Absolutely. Okay, let's hit some of these. These are pretty good. Kathleen, what do you got going on here? I grew up in Salem, Mass. We swam all the time. My mom would always say, you might not see the sharks, but trust me, they see you. I guess mom was trying to keep us safe. Absolutely. Absolutely. It's such an odd thing, is it not, to think that, how many times have you heard we're top of the food chain? Like we're, top of the pyramid or whatever. No, you're not. You'll be taken out by a microorganism. Isn't that strange? But to me, the shark reference, now this is it's crazy even for me. The shark reference was always something that I thought about, believe it or not, like the paranormal. Because you might go swimming all day and have a wonderful time. And isn't it great? Look at all the beautiful sea plant life and the coral reefs, and absolute beauty and miracle, of look at that little octopus that was running to get to the show, or, the way the fish school, and the different, just so many wonderful things that we have not even touched on yet. It's like you say space is the last frontier. I think in a lot of ways the ocean is. So many things we haven't discovered, or understand. But like the paranormal, you've got your sharks. You got your bad guys. And they're just doing what sharks do. They're just eating machines. They're just machines, eating machines, And they've been around a long time, and how close is that to demonic forces, to negative entities, and things like that? There's other things, barracuda, all different things that can kill you. Eel, so many things. But it's similar if you think about it. And the reason I think about it that way is because there are people who go out in this and challenge things and laugh at it. Yeah, water dinosaurs uncommon. Yeah, it's true. And I always think, you try to tell them, you try to warn them, and they usually get arrogant about it, or, I do this and I do all this, and I'll challenge them or whatever. And I'm like, okay, well, you're kind of like a man on a big boat or a woman on a big boat, right? And while you're in that boat, you're feeling kind of cocky. You're having your cocktail, you're having your beer, you're fishing, you're dominating over these fish. I don't care if you're fishing and you're doing it in a sportsman-like thing, and you're catching the fish and you're doing all the correct things with it. You're going to eat what you catch or whatever. And you're feeling like you're in control, right? And you're cursing the things in the sea that could hurt you, right? And then your boat starts to sink. And things start changing real fast. And now you are in one of those last scenes from Jaws where the boat's sinking and the sharks are like, you're in my territory now. You don't think demons are like that? Hey, Laura, welcome in. So that harkens back again to the Villisca. Because now I don't wish this on anybody, don't get me wrong. But if you have a place and you've restored this place and you tell yourself, I did it because I want history and all that, hey, that's great. Again, I'm not judging, that's what you're going to do. But when people come and continuously tell you that know more than you do, you're, much wiser than you'll ever be in the paranormal, or much more abilities than you might have, and they tell you what you're doing is wrong, you're torturing this family, you're torturing that mother, you're torturing these kids. And they look at you point blank and go, okay, I believe you. I'm not changing a thing. We're going to keep doing exactly what we're doing. Well, when your boat sinks, what's going to happen then? Are you going to spend a little time getting to hear from the dead that you exploited? I'm not saying you will. I'm saying it's possible. Are they waiting like the sharks? Just come in the water, you know? That's scary. Are there paranormal comeuppance? What do you think? I think somebody that spends that amount of decades doing that for monetary gain, it's possible. You might just get to see those people face to face, and they just might have a little something to say to you. Let me see this. Kathleen, what you got going on here? My grandmother rode the trains back in the 1920s to find work. He said you could come and go without anyone ever noticing because it was so common. Yep. Could do anything and disappear into the night. Absolutely. This is what I'm saying. Absolutely. We are kind of just shooting the shit, aren't we, Glenn? That's very cool. And let's see. Chicken factories. Chicken factories. We had chicken factories on the coastline. They threw entrails into the bay. Sharks were everywhere. Absolutely. Scariest thing I think I've ever seen was when we had Sandy came through. Of course, that's very scary. It was horrible here. The hurricane. A lot worse than they would ever tell you on the news. A lot more people lost. And I can tell you that for a fact because we lost several on our street. It was horrible. But the pictures that I saw, I'm sure you've all heard of Seaside. I mean, that's the one that's been out. It's not far. It's between me and Atlantic City, not far from where I am right now. And it flooded so bad that the ocean water came up blocks and blocks and stayed and was very thick. And there's sharks swimming up the street. I'm like, that's it. They're coming. That's it. It just freaked me out so bad. I don't, and again, I don't believe in hurting sharks. I think it's awful. These poachers out there, taking the fish. I don't want to see any animal suffer. These things are just doing what they're doing. My point is, you're getting in their territory. Now it's their rules. You're not, and that's the same with the paranormal. Is it not? Think about it. Some of these things have real teeth. So I think it fits. I can't wait to do the story. I think it's going to be a little, there's no way we can do it in one night because there's just so much, but I'd love to tell you. I was going to see if I could go on location. It's a little further than I thought it was. The one that happened in the Mattawan Creek. I would have loved to got some on the, some B-roll for you to be on location. I just got so much going on right now. But I think it's going to be a great show anyway. And I think you guys would be really interested in it. Let's see here. Yep, that's true. How you doing, Laura? I miss you. And I just now saw your picture, honey. Sometimes I get messages. You got Mark Nesbitt's book, and I got the same one. So let me know what stories you really like in that. I'd like to know. But I didn't mean to not answer you. I just busy week, and sometimes I look at it and go, hey, I'll answer that later, and then a week goes by and I haven't, and I feel bad. So I love you, baby. Yeah, those people go mess with sharks like ghost hunters who have to provoke spirit. Exactly. This is what I'm saying. It was wonderful to hear Dr. Fernicola talking to a couple of, like Shark Weeks were big, I guess, and other things. And, he's learned so much about this and the history. It's not just the history of this story, but really research sharks and behavior and things like that to try to understand what went down. But he was talking to another guy who said, well, when I go see these sharks, I've actually swam with, this type of shark, or blue sharks or whatever. And, hammerheads, I've been in there with hammerheads, and you just kind of tap them on the head and push them, the other direction. And they'll go, I'm like, oh. He said, but great whites, I'm in a cage. And all I could think of was, Richard Dreyfuss's character, who was fabulous in that movie, by the way. being in that cage, and he's like, I'm going in here. I can, hit him with the uh with the shot and get him and all that kind of stuff. But oh, it was horrible. No, not for love nor money. Not for love nor money. Oh yeah. And when you're in Gettysburg, Nesbitt's the way to go. No doubt, Laura. Absolutely, I agree. All right, let's see. Glenn has got railroads where the serial killer's equivalent of van in the interstate. Yes. Yes. And again, anytime they brought in the bloodhounds for some of these other murders, same route. It would go from the house, kind of like avoid the downtown, and then to the nearest waterway, because gosh, there was a lot of them, streams or whatever, creek, whatever you would call it. Walk down the middle of that, cut over, and go on the freight train. Gone. And there's like I said, 238 separate instances of that, not victims, separate murders, places and events. So that fit the MO. So if this was a serial killer, he's very busy, amazing. So, yeah. What's that? Be careful, though. I heard they try to lure you into the ocean. Yeah. Oh, you mean the mermaids? Yeah, I can't tell you whether. I know they had that. Didn't they have that documentary that they came out and said, yeah, the torso froze moments definitely torso. Isn't that the one that tormented? Oh gosh, I can't think of names tonight. I'm terrible with the names. Glenn, help me. Who was the head of the FBI? The torso murders. He never caught him, and it kind of tormented him his whole life. Famous dude. Somebody will get it. I know it as well as my own. I can see his hat. I can see his gray suit. See the picture. I can't think of his name. But anyway, that's a good one. And you know what else? The Black Dahlia. That's definitely a good one. We're going to hit that one too. Elliot Ness. Thank you so much, Froze. Yep. Elliot Ness. I heard the most, speaking to Elliot Ness, this is going to sound so funny. But you know how they put out the documentaries that, the history of the definitive history. Yeah, Hoover was a mess. It's funny you should mention that. And it was about the FBI and the history of the FBI and the way they portrayed him, Hoover. It was like he lived his whole life to weed out debauchery and people who were, less than moral with, to their spouse, and this is the way they're surviving. Because what? It's like full stop. What? Out of your mind. It's amazing the stuff that people. He was a creepy little bastard. He lived right across the street from LBJ. Was really good friends with LBJ, and they were really good at blackmail. I mean, LBJ's the guy they called Bobby Baker, who they called Little LBJ, actually was hired by LBJ and Hoover to set up a motel full of honeypots with all these different cameras and everything else, and then invited the stars, different people and different politicians and oil people, businessmen, just to get them caught up in an orgy or something else and get blackmail papers. I mean, he had blackmail envelopes on everybody, and here he is tramping around in a dress and had his, and again, if that's your lifestyle, great. But don't say that you're here to stump it. People like that, boy. Hey, Sarah, I answered your hat question, honey. Go back and listen. That was really good. I mean, that made me think. And again, I think that was almost like a clue, like the man from the train kind of clue. If he was wearing a train cap, I really love that. I love that you were thinking about that. So go back and hear what I said, because that really got me thinking about it. And I think you might be onto something. Maybe he was trying to show Amy, because that's the only one he's appeared to that I know of so far that I trust. And I mean, other ones have gone in there and got other stuff, but it might have been a little paranormal clue to her. And I thought that was really neat, maybe a little hat tip, so to speak, to the man that rode the train. And again, I think he watched them more than once. I think they, I think there was some kind of a, like, Kelly knew, and when he saw that guy, he knew that something was going to go down that night. And they're small towns. All you got to do is walk around the town, maybe catch the guy when he was leaving, whatever his little thing. Maybe he had some little ritual that when he got off the train, he sat around the fire with the other, transients or hobos, or maybe he was a loner and he kind of had a little bit of his routine down, and maybe he caught a couple of those murders. It's all very possible. And it's all very, very deeply sick, if you think about it, So that's pretty interesting. But it's amazing to watch these documentaries, and then these narrators, they don't know, and the writers, I don't know if they know. Very well done documentaries, and they're just spewing this just absolute lies. It's kind of like when you're watching, like if somebody did a documentary on the Warren Report, you'd just be like, what? These people actually believe this crap? How many people here, by a show of hands, and I know this has absolutely nothing to do with, well, you could call them sharks, I guess, and human sharks, and how many people know that a former president, non-elected, by the way, Gerald Ford, who was on the Warren Commission, actually admitted that he changed the autopsy report on JFK. This is fact. Okay. And changed the trajectory of the hole in the chest that they called a tracheotomy, which it wasn't. And it matches up to the truth that a couple of the doctors that were in Parkland, and he admitted that he changed the picture. And his reason was so that the American public could better absorb and believe the Warren Report so they could get back to being a country. And they praised him for it, because they couldn't make the magic bullet fit without changing that. Now, you're your own person. If you want to believe that somebody who was not a great shot, he was average, could get those 3 shots off. Okay. And that one of those bullets went through JFK into Connolly, hit him in the back, down his arm, through his wrist, and into his thigh. Connolly had more metal in his body than was missing from the bullet fragment that he found. More. It's impossible. Gerald Ford did that. He was just one of them. But that's the kind of stuff we'll get into when we get into the JFK. That is a huge one. It needs to be done right, and it needs to be done with as much honor and truth as I can give it. But if you ever want to know what started me on this, the paranormal conspiracy stuff, it wasn't just experiences. It was JFK and being around at that time and listening to the adults talk about it. And, oh yeah, it was bunk. Absolutely, Vixen. But that's just one thing. Yeah. Oh, it absolutely is a crock. Magic bullet. Yep. But, we can see this now when we look back. Yet, isn't it strange that we can know these things, and then we see some things happening today and we go, maybe we don't, but other people will look at it and go, they just wouldn't do that. Well, honey, yeah, they would. Multiple times. We could sit here and name them off. Gulf of Tonkin. We were just talking about the Titanic and Wilson and Jekyll Island and the Titanic, and how JP Morgan, a lot of the bankers that didn't want to vote that way, sunk on that Titanic. JP Morgan was going to be one of them. His suitcases went down, but the last minute he must have got a nod or a word or something, because he made a big old U-turn and did not get on the Titanic. Yep. What are you saying, Laura? Let's see. Let me see. Jack. Let me go back to Jack. I've never heard that before, Cisco, but I know for a fact that Oswald could not pull that off alone, and I may not even have been involved at all. No, he wasn't. Oh, the history. Oh, honey, the history. The different places he was, the different things he did, even down to how many different people they had going around saying, I'm Oswald, or I'm here at the shooting range and shooting on somebody else's target. And, who do you think you are? Well, my name is Lee Harvey Oswald. Didn't look anything like him. But the guy who was at the target that day, the target shooting that day, he remembered the name, and again, it's just this multi-layered. And if you guys knew, there was another one that was supposed to be in Miami, and I think one in New Orleans that was thwarted too. Okay, me too. My history teacher in high school introduced us to the shadow government and the idea of conspiracies down the rabbit hole. Boy, you had luck you had a teacher, because I don't think they're doing that nowadays. I don't think they're doing that nowadays. I just heard a thing that it said that most people that are graduating high school can't tell you anything. They don't even know how many states we got, let alone do math. Homeschool your kids, people. All right. So what are we doing tonight? Isn't that interesting? My gosh, we did almost the whole hour of a bunch of hooey. But it's lovely to talk to you guys and to hear what you have to say. And I really feel that together we've really uncovered a lot of important points on the paranormal and had a chance to look at things a little differently. And that Velisca, boy, that was something, because it just, like I said, it makes me sick to see people, and they're not even doing it on purpose, but to go in there, maybe they've got it, what could be worse? I remember a Ghost Hunters episode, maybe you guys will too, where they go in, it was one of like the first couple of seasons, and they went into this one hotel. I believe it was the hotel that had the blue lady that walked the beach and was supposed to have committed suicide and all that kind of stuff. And they had the whole place rigged. Did you guys see this one? They had the whole place rigged to the point where they had like a face behind the mirror, that when you were in the bathroom at certain times, this like face would show up in the mirror and just light up. They had like the chandelier on like a swivel that would move, right? Different things, banging, creaking, of course, sounds, that's easy to pull off, lights flickering. And they're pulling it off as, this is a virtual, basically a fun house now. We're just going to go in and have a good time. Oh, isn't that fun? But no, serious paranormal investigators were going in there and going, what the heck? It really pissed them off. I know Jay was like throwing chairs and because it's just a shitty thing to do. Well, they do it with history, and they do it with all this stuff too. You know what I mean? Hey, Cassie, how you doing, sweetheart? And I love you too, Sarah. So close enough to be confusing, Ted Branson. I was. Yep. There you go. More from life than any teacher. Isn't that true? We were just talking about that today, Laura. We were talking about true wisdom and character. Most of the time comes from making a lot of bad decisions. Here's the clincher, though. You got to live through it. You got to live through it. You got to learn from it. You can't keep repeating it. You got to go, whoa, that's not a bad idea. Not doing that again, Churches and the fake statueteers. Oh, yeah, that's another one. But again, it sickens you, because you want to go in and you want to, I think real paranormal investigators, and some, again, just go in, like try to get evidence, try to get anything. And that's great. Nothing wrong with that. I've done that myself. Hey, that's great. That I heard an EVP there. I've showed you guys that EVP that my son got. We got at the Wyndham that night, and it's two words, no, but in that you could tell, you could almost tell it was a young girls, two different ones. You could tell in the inflection of how they said it was like, thoughtful. No, they didn't feel stuck, and that was the most important thing. Stuff like that's amazing. But I'm telling you, if you're going into a place that's drawn so much of this stuff where it's actually started creating its own entities that were never human before, and every low life, earth walking, negative person that doesn't want to cross and just wants to stick around and do whatever it does is being drawn there, what are you really getting? And how do you know? So you have to go in with a little bit more um knowledge and discernment to say, okay, I'm going to ask you, did you kill this family? Yeah, I killed them all. I got to kill it. No, you didn't, honey. You probably didn't, because I doubt that guy was mentally um capable. Plus, why would he be there if he's done 250 other ones, possibly more? That's just what we might know about. And that's just here in the United States. We do think that it's possible he went back to Germany and started off there. Um, why would he be there? Because you're talking to him? Possible. Like John Wilkes Booth shows up in the gift shop when people are talking about what he did? Yeah, absolutely possible. But, the chances of that being um, clean, clear evidence of whatever. Because here's the thing, the guy that I showed on that video, forget his name now, the guy with the dark beard who was having a problem because he was getting haunted, you know, um, he says that every group that goes in there gets a different name. They've showed him or had him listening to, some of them. Here, this is what we found. It's different voices. It's different. He stood there. He said to himself, whatever's in there, whatever's going in and out of there is messing with everybody that comes in here. Now, did they go around and put these handprints and stuff of, these small handprints on the wall to like that one hotel that with the swinging chandelier and the face in the mirror? I'm not saying that. Somebody could have. Because, honey, those aren't the same walls anymore. You understand? This house was torn apart. They took the porch off. They did all kinds of stuff. It's been 111 years. Things have been painted. The sheetrock has been changed. I mean, it's been renovated. So you got to use your common sense. It's not even the same stuff anymore. So, you know, discernment, right? Hoover wasn't out to wipe out debauchery and stuff. He was out to make money and a name for himself, and he did it for a very long time. Let's see what's happening here. Oh, Jack. Sarah, they call them channels of programming for a reason. Yes, programming. Yep. Even Hollywood was used black magic to control, but yes, absolutely. Yes. See, I love this chat. I love this chat. Yeah. Oh, absolutely, Kathleen. And why not? And is it something that was there in the house? Is it something you picked up along the way? Is it something that brought in because of the gathering of energy? Is it something that came with you? Again, we don't know. You can't know definitively. What I do know definitively is that mother has suffered. Her children was killed. Two unfortunate young girls that were just overnight house guests. Hey, war criminal, welcome in. All of them affected. So again, this mom is going over there to this other guy, telling him to stop this. He's going to the owner, stop this. So if you're responsible for doing something like that, your boat sinks and now you're in their territory in the water. I can't think of anything scarier to imagine being stuck in purgatory, the in-between, the unseelie fae, whatever you want to call it. And now you're in their territory. That's scary. And that's what I would have told that woman. But again, if they don't believe, they don't believe, Huh? I've seen skeptics become believers pretty fast sometimes. What are you saying? What's there to say? Another of the groups have been found out to be fakes that said, yep. And again, some people are just trying to get clicks, and the sad part is, and again, you go back to JFK. When I was talking to Jim Mars, and I mean, we didn't have dinner or anything. I spoke to him on the phone and I listened to him for years, and, and I know what he was doing and how much he knew about JFK subject and, go in there. He was the first one to me, and that I know of. Now, I could be wrong on this, correct me if I am, that pointed out the fact that the yellow paint that was marking the other bullets that hit the curb, there was one that hit a sign. So, again, 3 bullets, right? The busiest 3 bullets I've ever seen in history. One came and hit the sign, which is now gone, but there was pictures and statements. And then another one missed and hit the curb, and they had yellow paint that marked it. And then there was another one, I think, by this one I'm not 100% sure on, but I think there was more yellow paint where um, the sewer kind of drain was. And it wasn't just the one with the big round heavy iron lid. It was one that you can kind of go down in, and then there was the lid and you could actually go down into that. It was a little bit different. I don't think it's the same yet, because Jim said that once they started pointing that out, they went and cemented it over. So again, that's like putting an exclamation point on everything. But the hints of yellow paint, if you really look, you can see that in the concrete, there's still the flecks of yellow paint where they marked where that bullet chipped. And I just heard somebody else talking about it. Mark Grobert, Mark Grobert on Untold America's Untold Stories. Great podcast, by the way. He's been studying it for a very long time too. He's very opinionated, and I don't blame him, because he's been studying it for a long time, and he, some things he just marks out and won't even listen about it, but he's darn right on. And there's a lot of people, a lot of books he's read and studied and just trying to tell the truth. And he just now heard about the yellow paint not too long ago, like a couple months ago. And that's how deep that kind of stuff is held. Yeah. 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 And there was several other ones. And once you hear the whole story, AJK, I'm telling you, it's absolutely amazing. And if you're really interested in it, go look up, before they wipe them all out. They're kind of hard to find now, but go find the early interviews from Madeline Brown. Once her son died, who was, I would say, other than having a DNA test, if you look at this kid, I'd say he was the illegitimate son of LBJ for sure. And that's what she says. And, of course they say no, but he paid for him all his life. Not him. It went through somebody else, but you get the point. It was from LBJ. So listen to hers. And when you listen to her interviews of the night before, at what happened with LBJ and the things he said and the people that were there, you can kind of put it all together, So again, like Jim Marr said, when people say, well, the FBI, the CIA, the oil companies, the military industrial complex, all these people who, this Secret Service, did they? And he'd just go, yes, all of them. All of them. And don't ever believe anybody that says to you that they couldn't pull off something, because not that many people could keep a secret. It's called compartmentalizing. Okay. I don't know what this guy's doing. I'm just given this much to do. And they're over here going this much. All we know is what we're doing for that. There were some that knew a lot, I would say. I don't even know if even the close people, even like Connolly, knew everything, even though he set up everything in Dallas and he fought to have it where he did. And again, when we do this, I'll have more details, but don't listen to that, because you bet that first responders can go into a situation and see something. And when somebody else comes in and says, you didn't see that, shut your mouth. Or what you saw was suicide. That guy shot himself in the chest 5 times with a bolt action rifle. And that's the way it's going down. That's what the ME report says. And if they don't, gone. And a really good book on that is by Belzer. Yeah, the actor who played in I don't know how many different cop shows, Richard Belzer, but he's got a book out called Hit List, and he only touches on a couple of them. I think at the last count there was like 400 and something witnesses that tried to come forward to tell what they knew, and gone. So, and that's when we kind of lost it all. I think, in my personal opinion, that's when the country hit its knees and we never really got up again. You know, and now we got some people getting up. People are getting smarter and they're paying attention and they're not as comfortable with just letting things go anymore. They're talking about it. And it's things like this that we do to try to get it out there, to try to tell the kids, you got to discern for yourself, right? So, yep. Game of Thrones in DC. Yep. Absolutely true. Absolutely true. All right. So, we got Jack. Government is run by the military industrial. Yep. And just like in the military, no one knows. Yep. They just know what they're told. Yep. And that's exactly it. Even, as pissant as I was in the military, it's just a truck driver. It's just a vehicle driver. That means 64 Charlie at that time. It's changed now. I think it's a Mike now. But anyway, when you're going, you're handed an envelope and you're told you're going to take that vehicle and you're going to take this envelope to building number whatever, and you're going to hand it to this person. You're going to leave or you're going to wait for a response. You don't know what's in the envelope. You're not supposed to know what's in the envelope. It's sealed. You see what I mean? What did I just do? You're going to pull up here. You're going to get out. You're going to pop the trunk. You're going to get back in the car. You're going to eyes forward. People are going to come out. They're going to take what's in the trunk. They're going to close the trunk. You're going to go back to building what's its face. Same. It's been going on for years. Yeah. And it works with people in the office. It works people, first responders, with police officers and everything else, and people have been getting away with it for a very long time. Mm-hmm. Yep. Shot himself in the head and the back of the head twice. Yeah. We're hearing a lot of that mess, aren't we? Yep. Mm-hmm. 100%. I just love you guys. You're such great thinkers, and it's very interesting, the stuff that can go on in the world, but when you realize that it makes you a little bit more careful. Yep. All just pawns in their game. That's right, Ted. That's right. Let's see. What you got, Kathleen? My brother was a photographer at Area 51. He would go in on a bus with blackened windows, stop, get another, drive, stop, take a picture, get back on the bus, and that's all you need to know. Yeah. That's it. That's it. And again, Area 51 could be a big distraction. Everybody's focusing on over there. Maybe everything's over here. Very strange. Very strange. Yep. Big food, big pharma, big bank, big what? Amen. Yep. Sure is. Yep. Absolutely. So, child diddlers, absolutely. Yep. We got to put a stop to that mess. I'm sorry, guys. I keep sliding out of this chair. I got all kinds of things. I think I should just get, some safety belt, strap myself in. But as I'm sitting here, I'm going like this. So tonight, I didn't mean to take up so much time talking about all that. I got a couple fun things here. But, yeah, sometimes I wish I was an AJK. Sometimes I can see things coming and, I feel them coming. I know it's going to be big and I know it's going to be horrible. And then when it hits, I'm like, oh, okay, maybe we didn't know exactly what, but there it is. Yep. So here we go. Let's see, what do I got? Oh, okay. So what had interested me about tonight's thing. Now, it was brought to my attention today. My son mentioned, one of the best stories about sound. And hey, Lindsay, how you doing, honey? You just missed a whole big run on debauchery and adultery and murder and hit lists and kinds of stuff and train caps and axe murders and I think and sharks. So there you are. You're all caught up. And let's leave it with this. Believe half of what you see and nothing that you hear. Find out for yourself And more than likely, it's some kind of conspiracy that they're trying to cover up something else with. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, they're going to keep doing it, honey. You got to go to alternative. You got to find out for yourself if you're interested in something, because the media is never going to, you know, what's on TV right now, it's all fixed. They're all owned by the same people. They say the same things. They've been doing that for years. It's all breaking apart now, though. Do you notice that? Wonder why. It's crazy. But here we go. We're in it. So, sounds, and this is something that's always interested me, and I think sometimes we are real easy to say, okay, stone tape theory, it's an echo. It's like a recording in time that plays back every so once in a while or on the anniversary. And I don't want to say I'm suspect about that, but to me, think about what I just said and tell me what you guys think about that. To have a sound of, say, like somebody being murdered, or you can hear like a carriage full of horses and people that got killed in some horrible accident or something, falling off a bridge, and that repeats on the anniversary of the date it happened. Why would that happen on an anniversary? Think about that. Now we've got questions about time, and time is relative, and we've got questions about why would it play back on an anniversary of a year that was made up. You know what I mean? The calendars, and we've got so many different calendars, the Julian calendar, and we got we went through this whole thing with Y2K and all that, wasn't it? With we were going by the Mayan calendar, or the wrong calendar. We had the wrong times. So think about that. Why would sound be, what's the word I want to look for? Ruled by time? Is it some type of, I mean, to say that, you would almost have to say that sound. Now, again, I could be talking complete gibberish here. I'm just throwing this out. It would almost have to say that sound would almost have to have a personality to understand a date. You see what I'm saying? Why would it repeat like that? And we know more than one stories of hauntings that does that. And on the anniversary of, now wait, what if it's because it's the anniversary? Maybe people are thinking about it, and that's what brings it. We know that thinking about loved ones can bring them. That speaking of John Wilkes Booth might bring him to the gift shop at Ford's Theater. I don't think he stays there. I think he comes when people connect into that energy. See? And I don't think the same thing is necessarily true for that house with that serial killer or whoever. And I think there's a reason that Joe Moore isn't in that house too. And I don't know what it is. And I'm not saying he had anything to do with it or didn't. I'm just saying nobody ever hears from him. Legitimately, if you know what I'm saying. Yeah. You think so, Kathleen? You think that could be it? Could that answer the question? Awareness and, but what if it's something that the person who is viewing it has no idea even occurred? Such as in what was brought up to me today, one of the best, I think, events on this is the Roman soldiers. And we've talked about that and showed the whole thing on it here that happened. And that was when the guy saw that or heard it. All right, let me explain this. He was down in the cellar of this place, and I don't have all the details right on top of my head, but he's down there, just a worker, fix the plumbing. In fact, he was an apprentice plumber, and he didn't even like being down there, but he was sent down there to work on that spot. The first recollection that he had was that he heard first the trumpet, the bugle, whatever you want to call it. I believe he said trumpet. I'm not a historian. I don't know what they carried, and it was this distinct call. And that's what got his attention. And he looks over towards the direction of the sound of the trumpet. What would a trumpet? Somebody blowing a trumpet down here, right? And he went back to work. And then he hears it again, and he looks toward the sound, and the first thing he sees coming through the wall is the horse's head. And here comes the whole horse, and here comes the Roman soldier on him, and then the Roman soldiers walking behind him. Ted, you know this one is good, better than I do. The first thing he did was hear something, and then he could hear them breathing. He could hear the horses breathing. It was so close. And again, they were walking above, a little higher off the ground. But at the time when they dug up and they started really researching this, the Roman road was actually higher and would have been at that height. So they're staying at their height, coming through all the sounds and everything. And he heard the sound first. So how amazing is that? And I don't believe this was on any anniversary. I have no way of saying either way on that one. But that's incredible, right? That was one of the biggest paranormal stories as far as it had everything, from how clear it was. He said that he could tell they hadn't shaved the stubble on their face. It was so close. He said he could smell the sweat. They were coming back from battle. Yeah. I watched another channel. They caught a moment in the time of a sword fight. Oh, really? Yeah. Yep. 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 This is, it's absolutely true. So I don't know if it's because now that guy, if it was any anniversary, he certainly wasn't thinking about it, but he was there and saw it. The story I tell about the odd occurrence between this lady that was living in a house, and one minute she'd hear a thumping and maybe see the woman carrying just an apparition of a woman carrying laundry. The next time she saw him, she actually saw this strange guy. She thought somebody broke into her house, but she said it was weird because he came through the door, didn't open the door. The door never moved. So it was hard for her to process things so quickly. And he was like, it looked like he was going after somebody at the wall. And then another time she saw the whole scene where he came in the door same way. I believe at that time she said she saw the door open though. So she was seeing the whole scene. It was very interesting. And she saw the lady that had the laundry drop the bag, and then this guy strangled her and killed her. The woman was dead. The guy was still alive and in jail, but she's seeing this and hearing it. Interesting, right? So another one, as far as the sounds, we hear an awful lot of horses on the battlefields, like in Gettysburg or anywhere else in the Civil War. I'm sure that in other countries they hear similar things. Many animals have been in wars, and that's a shame. I mean, including dogs and everything else. I mean, it's just, doves, homing pigeons. I mean, done all kinds of canaries in caves, for Pete's sake. But why are we hearing horses on a battlefield, but not here in the battle? About that. Ted's got something here. I've heard sounds so clear and descriptive that I see the actual visual image in my mind's eye. Yeah. I mean, what is that, right? In a forest, didn't have any information of a battle happening there. Sarah. Oh, wait a second. Watch another channel. They caught a moment in time of a sword fight battle. Okay, now it makes sense to me. In a forest, didn't have any information of a battle happening. Yeah, I mean, right? So if you don't have the information of something and you see it or hear it repeating and it's on the anniversary, are you even a part of that? You just happen to be there and catch it? The thing that gets me is the anniversary. Why would sound pay attention to a date on a calendar? It doesn't make sense to me. There's got to be something else there that it wants to be remembered. Maybe there has something to do with the evolution of time where things come around, because it's obviously not true for everything, because we'd be walking through one noisy world, because everywhere we're walking something's happened, a battle, a massacre, you know um heavy, even deception, cruelty, a bad marriage where somebody's in a marriage and abused for 40 years and made to feel like nothing. Does that not leave an imprint of a life? You know, maybe it wasn't a murder, but it was a slow murder of a soul, or a person, their personality. Would that not leave an imprint as well? To me, it sounds like we would have just one crazy world filled with all these sounds of everything that's happened in the past. Why just some? There's got to be an answer here somewhere. I don't know that we'll find it tonight. In fact, I doubt we will. But it's great to ask the questions because it gets you thinking, right? So here was one. Um, I love Peter Underwood. Now, I had to grab these really quick. You can find these. Peter Underwood's got channels everywhere. He's long passed. He passed in 2014. He had a wonderful radio show called Ghost Watch and a couple other things. Wonderful books, so many. If you're interested in Peter Underwood books and you want to get his, aspect of it. I had a thing pulled up here and I wanted to read it to you because, again, this man really put so much of his life into the paranormal. And I think he deserves to be remembered. Man, I had it pulled up. What happened to it? Here we go. I just think he's a cheeky monkey. I just like the way I like the way he said things. I like the way he put it all out there. So just a little bit about him. Peter Underwood, who has died at age 91, he died in 2014, December 2014, was the author of more than 50 books on ghost hunting and the paranormal, including The Dictionary of the Supernatural in 1978, The Ghosts of Borley. We talked about that. We had a good show on that. 1973 with Paul Tabori. And Where the Ghosts Walk in 2013. That was probably one of his last. And was one of Britain's greatest authorities on hauntings. He brought honesty and challenge to any discussion of the subject, once saying, I have long thought that 98% of reported hauntings have a natural and mundane explanation, but it is the other 2% that have interested me. That's Peter Underwood. And now, for 2 decades, he was president of the Ghost Club and was later life president of the Ghost Club Society and president of the Unitarian Society for Psychological Studies, and was one of our first parapsychologists, title-carrying parapsychologists. Okay. There was the whiff of the detective about Underwood, and it was not surprising that Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's daughter, Jean, usually introduced him as the Sherlock Holmes of psychological research. So it was just wonderful. God love the British have a way of going after things. I've been telling you on this show, I'm just loving my Midsummer Murders and really getting to understand a lot of the little idiosyncrasies and the ways about them, especially in those little villages. It's what a trip. But Peter had that kind of air, and I love the way he told the story. It was really matter of fact. He was just, again, but we're going back to, the early times and understanding. He was going through Borley Mansion and trying to, the Borley Hall, and he was in it before it was destroyed, I believe. And then he did a great documentary on it, which we saw parts of here. And just the way he approached it, things. And I have one of his little clips here. We've shown this one before, and I have a new one. I'd love for you to hear it. And both of them have to do with sound, spirit sound, and what we would call it's a little bit more than just an echo in time in these. So I'm going to see what you think. Hey, Sapphire, welcome in. I'm going to see what you think. It's kind of small, but I have it up so you can hear it. Is the best way I could get it to you. Let's see which one this is. This one's the carriage. Let's play this one first and see what you think. But a little bit of Peter Underwood, and I think it's a terrific story. So here we go.
Peter Underwood's Ghost Watch.
At the end of the 18th century, Sir Godfrey Hazlitt married the beautiful Lady Evelyn Carew, and a great feast followed at Bastwick Place in Norfolk. At midnight, that 31st of May, the terrified and struggling bride was kidnapped by a rival suitor and borne away in a coach towards Potter Heigham. Imagine the scene. The coach careering over the road as the horses were urged on ever faster, sparks flying from the wheels as they struck the flint on the track, and the carriage swaying from side to side with a frightened girl inside. Up ahead, the narrow Potter Heigham bridge. The coach was out of control. It struck the stone wall, shattered into 1,000 pieces, and the occupants, horses and all, were flung over the parapet into the River Thurne below. And each 31st of May, it said, the coach, silent at first but frighteningly visible, approaches Potter Heigham Bridge at breakneck speed. It strikes the stone wall with an ear-splitting crack, is flung high into the air, and falls to pieces in the river below. Those who have witnessed this spectacle said their blood froze in their veins. Dr. Charles Sampson himself told me he saw it, with 2 friends who confirmed his story. But I have visited Potter Heigham Bridge on the fateful night of May the 31st, and each time it's been quiet and peaceful, and I haven't seen a thing. Phantom appearances like this seem to run down eventually, almost like a battery. So perhaps the phantom coach of Potter Heigham has finally made its last run. I'm Peter Underwood, and I'll be back on Ghost Watch soon.
Well, there you go. Do you think that happens? Do you think that over time it kind of wears itself out? Have we talked about that on this show before? I will tell you this, that not to disagree with Peter Underwood, never would, my homage to him. But how do you explain with a broad brush all spirits? Can't. We know that, right? We've learned that here on this show, because you've got a 950-year-old ghost of a woman in one of these castles. I can't remember if it was Scotland or Wales, that for 950 years she's been running through that castle, the lost love, the whole story we told it here on the show perfectly. She's so bright, you can even tell that she's wearing a pink dress, and she hasn't faded out at all. We know that Rob Guttrow has gone medium in England and talked to a monk who was punishing himself and keeping himself there because he had betrayed a friend, and this was his thing. And he was going on over 1,000 years. So did the coach and 4 stop? Now, Ted says he has seen one. I want to see if I could catch that. Ted, where we are, right here. I've heard a coach and 4 twice on my lane, and it is lined with huge granite blocks, a conglomerate containing millions of tiny crystals. Yes, that's very possible. We know that the stone theory of things can seem like almost absorbed by certain things, granite, limestone, all those different things. I think that definitely has something to do with it. But do they fade over time? I think that's kind of sad in some ways. So what if it's not a complete rule that all of them fade over time? I think some of them would get crossed. I think at some point they might click in, or finally, maybe can now hear the person or spirit guides that are trying to get them across. Something along those lines. I think there's so many answers to this. But as far as Steve and I often have talked about the, ghost ships and ghost trains and things like that never were alive. Coach and 4. Of course, the horses were alive. But why the coach, right? So here's Peter Underwood saying that he's gone there on the anniversary and not seen anything. It's always been quiet. Well, is it because it didn't want to show itself to him? Is, even though he's a believer and he has that investigator skepticism where he's trying to, sort everything out, is it that it didn't show itself, or was just not there that night? Great questions, right? Here's another Peter Underwood. This is one of my favorites. We've heard this one before, but I think it's worth hearing again because this one is a real corker.
Peter Underwood's Ghost Watch.
A few years ago, I spent a night at Newark Park in Gloucestershire, a house where strange rustling sounds, as though a person dressed in trading clothes was moving around, had been reported many times. Fearful visitors had also heard disembodied voices. Clear and distinct footsteps echoed along deserted passageways. The sound of rattling chains was reported, and there was talk of an unnatural coldness. I had gone there with other investigators to ghost watch. That first night we concentrated on a staircase landing where the rustling and voices had been heard from time to time for over 70 years. In half an hour, 4 members of our team heard it. We waited for voices, but no luck. We decided to sit again in the same place, and this time take with us recording equipment, together with a camera loaded with infrared film that takes photographs in darkness. We hoped that even if we saw nothing, the camera might pick up whatever might be there. The recorder was running, the camera ready, but we heard nothing. The next day we ran the tape through, just in case the recorder had picked up anything we hadn't heard. There were 2 faint but distinct voices on the tape. A man's voice said, "It's looking," and a woman's, "It's looking at us." Could they have been talking about the camera lens pointing at them? It's a pity we didn't take any pictures. Those voices remain a mystery and a lasting reminder of our ghost hunt in the Cotswolds. I'm Peter Underwood. I'll be back on Ghost Watch soon.
How fantastic is that? It's looking, male voice, it's looking at us. Wow. So you got the rustling of the pantaloons or whatever, probably making noise like those old, what were those jam pants or bike pants or whatever the kids used to wear that made so much noise with the nylon swishing? Kind of sort of like that. You had the creaky, scary door, Ted, you know? And then you've got these voices in real time looking at what they had set up, the camera. They could see it. You know, they're well aware. How about that? But keep in mind what he said. They didn't get anything else. So when they were there and they were trying to get, the pictures and all that other stuff, that's what they got. So now you've got 2 obviously intelligent spirits there. Okay. Interacting with equipment when no one was around, but not showing up when they were there. So you can't go in as a paranormal investigator and say this house is not haunted. Maybe it just didn't want you to know. Maybe it wasn't interacting with you. Again, this is one of those subjects where it gets kind of crazy, right? There's no definitive. And I don't think we're supposed to be definitive about it. And that's strange, but think about that for a minute. Maybe we're not supposed to know. It seems like a lot of these answers are extremely elusive. When we were talking to, we did the Mother's Day with Lynn Monet, wonderful author. Hey, Bobby, welcome in. Hi, sweetie. Parachute pants, that's it. Thank you. Boy, they would too. I remember I got a note from a teacher once that said that they weren't allowed in school anymore because all the kids going down the hall all were wearing them and the noise was incredible and they couldn't stand it anymore. They kind of outlawed them at the school. That's funny. And that's all the kids wanted that year, except for jeans or whatever. But that's funny. It is what it is. But how incredible is that? Maybe we're just not supposed to know because even when they come back, they've crossed over the other side and they come back and communicate with all the different people and all the different times over the decades that I've heard. They're only going to tell you so much. It's usually the trance mediums and the mediums or psychics that can actually get a glimpse of it over there, for however they do that. or for whatever reason are allowed to have that, but it's still only glimpses. And we're putting together all these pieces to try to make a picture that makes sense, you see. So that's another thing with paranormal investigation, right? And again, I'm no expert. I'm just pointing out what I see. We're just trying to get it out there, right? And trying to understand it. But again, I don't understand why an inanimate object would follow a date of a calendar. It's crazy. Hey, Blue Cross Reds. Hey, hit and run. We love you, baby. So that sounds strange, but think about it. Again, can somebody really go in there and go, nope, you don't have a haunting here? You feel good about telling the people who live there that? Because maybe they're experiencing something. Maybe it's something else. Again, we've talked about that. It could be them. It could be PK. It could be whatever. It could be an in and out ghost that doesn't hang there all the time. Who knows? But here you got Peter Underwood with all that experience, author of over 50 books, did it for decades, president of the Ghost Hunting Society out there. And he doesn't know. You see what I mean? It only tells me as much as we dig, maybe we're not supposed to get it all. But it seems to me that not all the sounds, not all the reoccurring visions, whether anniversary or not, like the Roman soldiers or the one I told you about in the hallway. Again, one of those people was dead and the other was still alive. So that's obviously an imprint of some kind, or the dead person was able to manifest that, which brings me to the next point. When we're hearing footsteps, say coming down the hall, this has always fascinated me. If you're hearing footsteps coming down the stairs, you can't automatically say, I got a ghost and I can hear him coming down the stairs. First of all, let's pick that apart. Are we hearing it with our ears, or are we hearing it in our mind? Is it a ghost that's actually coming down the stairs and you can hear their feet at the moment? Is it an imprint in time, like we just discussed? Is it possibly you haunting yourself because you've come down the stairs and for some reason there's some kind of time lapse or an overlap where just for a moment, like I often explain, if you have a book and you have all these layers, if each layer is a moment in time or a year or a day or whatever, okay, and say you could open this in any place and you have this book and a page gets wet, okay, with whatever, beer, water, pick your liquid, it gets wet. You can kind of sort of, once it's seeped in, you can look in and almost see a bleed through, not just from the other side, the words on the other side, but from the other page, because somehow they sync together. Can time do that? Layers, time. So is it possible? Okay. Now, I'd say at this point, I don't know. I'd say all that's possible. Okay. But what's also interesting is how and why would the ghost, if it is the ghost doing it and manifesting the sound, why would they want you to hear that and not just come out and go, hey, I'm here and, I used to be here and I'm a little pissed you're living in my house, or, just came back, by to stop to see, if the place was still here, or, I got murdered and it was cousin Vinny and, I need that, handled, or somebody told a lie about me, or the will is wet. Why don't they just say what they mean? Why are they coming down the stairs? Is it a reoccurring thing? We hear a lot of hauntings where such and such comes down the hall every night, stops in front of this bedroom door, and then it just ends. Why would that walk be so important? Yeah. Are they repeating something that they just did in life and this is just an echo in time? You know, just to scare the crap out of us, Renice. But why? Why? You know, the footsteps always freak me out because look, there's no easy way to get around footsteps in reality. You know, you're in your house, you're asleep, you're alone in the house, just say, or whoever is in the house with you, you know they're asleep because you're mom and you just checked everything, right? And in the wee still, hours of the night in the dark, all of a sudden you hear somebody coming up the stairs. Now, again, we talked about this in Villisca, how scary that is. Did Joe Moore perhaps think it was just one of the kids coming up and he didn't want to wake up? Maybe if I just lay here and pretend to go to sleep, I'm asleep, they'll go back down, they'll see I'm here and they're okay. We've all had, either been a kid staying over somebody's house or had people over or whatever, or parents and your kids had somebody over, whatever. Kids get, antsy when they first go to sleep, especially a new house. It's all possible. To me, it's the creepiest because there's no way to go up those stairs quiet. Dr. Epperly has been up them 100 times. He said, there's no way you can walk up those stairs quiet. So was this a prominent time in this ghost repeating this? Or is it, like maybe since we're talking about Peter Underwood, is it like in the Borley rectory, which it's not, the rectory is not there anymore. I think the church is still there. One of the two is gone. But they still see that nun walking through the yard in and out that, I think there's a lot of statuary. What do they call it? Topiary, when the bushes are all cut into shapes and really nice, like almost like not really a labyrinth, but close. It's an English garden, right? Is she just repeating that walk because she walked it so many times, or the how many times have we heard about the widow, in the widow's walk, waiting for the captain, the ship to come back in? 100 stories, right? I can't explain it. I don't have an answer. If you came here tonight thinking I have an answer, I don't. I just have questions. Isn't that crazy? And you guys coming up with, what you think it might be. But again, I think the major thing that we've learned about ghosts is you just can't paint it all paranormal with a huge brush, and you can't be definitive about any of this, So, wait. Here's Blue's got something too. What if these sounds are resonating on specific frequencies, footsteps on one, voices on another, breathing on another, and your mind is only tuned into one of those? Brilliant. Love it. It's absolutely possible. Highly, highly possible. And, in some cases, probable. That's very, because we know we're all well aware of frequencies and how they get turned up. We know we've been talking about the news and things like that. It's not just what they're saying on the news. It's the frequency. It's a fear frequency it's played in. It's meant to get you agitated. It's meant to continue the chaos, not only in the world, but in your body, in your mind. It's a frequency. It's very possible, Blue. Yep. Hedge maze. Thank you. Yeah, kind of like that. Very cool. But I don't think there's a hedge maze at the Borley. I could be wrong. I think it was just very well trimmed. It had like a distinct path. Because remember, the construction worker that was there working on a wall or something, they saw the nun. She stood there for a long time, and his coworker threw the brick at her, and it went right through her, and then she disappeared. Crazy, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, oh gosh, that was crazy in The Shining, right? And all that topiaries came alive and stuff. That's very interesting. But yeah, sound, I don't know. I don't know. I think it's very they're probably a constant echoes, but only tune in when you can match their frequencies. Yeah, exactly. Maybe that's it. And maybe it has to do with not only our frequencies that we're resonating or vibrating on, but it might have something to do with our state of mind as well. It might be, I mean, how many times have we heard that ghosts are connected to something they can relate to, such as the bride who died on her wedding day, or the bride that hung herself because she found out the man she just married was cheating with the bride, or whatever. That's a good story too. That's in my book about that. But they connected into someone who was going through the same type of thing. Very similar to the Michael Madsen story that I told on that was on The Haunting of. And he described a little girl. I came to visit him. Of course, he went down to the hotel manager and talked about it. The hotel manager said, well, little girl died chasing a ball down the stairs. She fell and broke her neck. That must be her. For 20 years, he walked around and thinking that was the story. He goes back and finds out, nope, that little girl crossed. The little girl that came to you died in the closet with her brother. They were hiding. There was a fire. Next door used to be apartments. They were there. Their parents were drug addicts, and there was a fire. She tried to save her brother and couldn't. And at the time, you were resonating such a fatherly love, missing your children, that she was attracted to that and to you because she was looking, she wanted a parent to love her so much. And you had so much love for your kids. She resonated to that feeling, that emotion. Perhaps that frequency. Interesting. Beautiful. Yep, that's true. Absolutely, Lindsay. That's it. The best thing we can do here as just inquisitive people is just try to sort it as best we can. Because, there's a lot of people interested in the paranormal. I think it's really, this is just my opinion, kind of not leveling out. I think it'll always be around. I think the interest in it will always be around. But I think it's kind of leveling itself out to where you started at first. Everybody was just, science, 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 and take out the feeling. And now groups, even on television, are starting to bring in the feeling back. And I think that's wonderful because I think it takes everything. I think there's too many layers to this for, somebody to be able to go in with just one piece of equipment and have all the answers. And say, okay, I've done this or done that. I think, some of us have gone in with very little stuff, and because of our feeling and trusting in our spirit guides, because listen, you're not doing it on your own either way, that's their spirit guides, your spirit guides, everything around trying to help this situation and getting the people that will do it to show up. I mean, one day we'll talk about all this different synchronicities that got us to a certain spot and something big happened or prevented something big happening. That's huge, but that happens in the paranormal an awful lot. Well, I've got one I thought was very interesting. Now, this is a ghostly encounter, and we'll watch this and that'll take us out. But this young man, it was fascinating to watch this story because I think he came out of it with a really healthy, not conclusion either. It's kind of an ongoing. I would love to find him and talk to him and see where he's at now with it. But let's watch it together and see what you think. It's a ghostly encounter. And I hope I got the right one here. I think I do. Let's see what you think. And I'm going to get some hot water. I'll be right, more hot water in my tea, and I'll be right back. But I'll be watching with you.
Spent a lot of my time in the basement, and I actually had a housekeeper that lived in with us for about a year. She had grown. She would actually get my dog, Sneaker at the time, to go downstairs first before she went downstairs. She always felt that there was something down there, something talking to her. Eventually, she would see and experience so many things to the point where she had to move out. She had lived in what's now my control room. That room ended up becoming my studio where I write my music. It's where most of my inspiration comes to me.
Like Jonathan, musician and songwriter T.J. Habibi thought ghosts only happened to other people. But then something changed his mind, something that terrified him and affected his art forever.
Even when people weren't home, I would hear things creaking upstairs, walking, big steps. From then on, it just kind of developed into something a lot more intense. There was one incident where I was sitting in the control room. I heard a little bit of a turned around and I actually saw my CD tower, the CD tower that actually holds the CD cases. One of my CDs was teeter-tottering like this. And I looked at it and I'm like, okay, this is bizarre. I had to go closer to it. And maybe it was a mouse or something. As I went closer, there's no mouse. And I stared at it for a good 15 seconds. Confirmed. The thing was just moving on its own. I was sitting in the control room. I turned around and I actually saw my CD tower, the CD tower that actually holds the CD cases. One of my CDs was teeter-tottering like this. The thing was moving on its own. There had to have been at least 10 or...
I had to stop it right there, Ted, because when I first saw that, first thing that came to my mind, pop that CD in and see what they're trying to tell you. Or maybe they just want to hear the music, or it might be a clue of some sort. You know what I mean? Wouldn't you guys have played that CD and seen what was on it? At least tried to figure that out? That was the first thing that came to me. You guys are so sharp.
20 CDs on that rack. The one that was moving was mine. In the corner of your eye, you would see something. And at that point, I knew something was trying to talk to me. This was the first time I'd actually been freaked out and scared of something that happened in my house. One night, 4 in the morning, I was setting up my microphones, just preparing for a client. I heard this buzzing noise. It was like machinery. It was coming from the laundry room. That I had gotten as a kid that I had never turned on since the 80s. It's the kind of machine that you'd have to turn on physically. You'd have to take the switch and move it to the right. So it's not like a radio-controlled robot. It's just a switch on or off. I wasn't hallucinating. The thing was on. After seeing that movie Poltergeist, these teddy bears coming to life, clowns and all this stuff, and it's been engraved in my head that I don't want to ever see that, you know, and having dreams, nightmares about these things. A thing happened in front of my eyes, and I was beside myself. I couldn't react, I couldn't move. This was the point where I confirmed that somebody's either trying to play a trick on me or there's something in this house. And there was nobody in that house. I didn't sleep that night. I had crashed at a friend's house. I just couldn't sleep at my house that night. The next day, when I had pulled myself together, I went into that laundry room again. I tried to turn it on, but it didn't turn on. these things that had happened to me, I'd taken it upon myself to turn my mics on and just to see what would happen. I'd leave them on all night, pressed record for a good 10 hours while I slept, just to see what was going on. I would review the waveforms, the audio waveforms of the basement. In a normal environment, yeah, you wouldn't hear anything. You would probably hear the odd wood crack or something upstairs. There was something that was caught very quiet in the rehearsal room. There was some conversation there. Two completely different personalities just talking. I brought the volume up a little bit and put a limiter on it, just making sure that everything was nice and raised, and to the point where the clock was ticking so loudly. There's this two people talking. I was really frightened, but I don't think these people want to hurt me, but I don't feel that they're necessarily interested in helping me. I just think they want to play a game with me. I think they just want to taunt me. They just want to have fun with me, and that's fine, you know. I'll indulge you. I think it's sometimes my own fault when I get scared. I don't think I should be scared. It's just my own, you know, fight or flight instinct, or you know, the fear comes over me when my robot turns on, you know. It's, you know, but I haven't been threatened. Nothing's fallen on my head. Nothing's, you know. So it's all been good things. To this day, I still feel that I'm inspired by other powers, others, spirits, if you will.
Now, here's the point. How much you love this guy? First of all, that took a lot of guts. A lot of people would have just been out of there the minute the robot went off. But what you were listening to is the recordings he took. These are the recordings. And even though he turned them up so high that the clock was just bang, bang, trying to get that, and trying to, you know, sort it all out. Again, I don't know what year this was. This is an older show. So, you know, maybe equipment's different now. Maybe he's doing something different. But you guys are smart. What do you think happens next? What happens when you would sit down there and work with your equipment, obviously spending time? You know, he doesn't feel threatened. He's not scared. He doesn't have, you know, fear. Like he said, I thought that was very cool where he said, my fear would be my own, you know, fault, because I shouldn't be scared of this. But what do you think even on a good level, this seems similar to me, what he's about to get into, as stories we have talked to before, even my own writing Cabin 22. Can it influence? I say yes, it can. And then how far? And I think it would depend on, again, the man. Obviously, we're dealing with somebody who's, you know, he doesn't seem crazy. Doesn't seem like he's jumping to conclusions. He sounds like he's sorting it all out nice and even and thinking about it and go, gosh, you shouldn't be afraid. This is fine. He's not coming at this with fear, but yet he can't understand what these obviously two separate, at least two that he can hear on this tape. There's probably been more since. They're having a conversation and he's trying to understand, very much like the Peter Underwood. Two separate people having a conversation around equipment they may or may not understand. We don't know what era, you know, or what they know or don't know. We don't even know what species. I mean, it could be anything. It could be aliens. Who knows? But they're obviously talking to each other around this equipment. and affecting it. You know, they affected the CDs. Like I said, they might have just wanted to hear it. Who knows? It could have been a favorite song, or it could have just been messing around. I don't know. But what do you think is going to happen next?
There was something that was trying to be said. There was something that was trying to be expressed, and it probably was best expressed through my music. Sometimes it's just the most bizarre thing when these lyrics come to me that I normally would not even, these words that I would never use, and they would come to me mostly when I'm in that house. There is a song called Ghost of Santa Fe. The lyrics start as, I've been sent through 3 feet full of lead and a vent to tell you that you must repent. I don't know what's talking to me. I don't know what they're trying to say. I've been making it my life to try and translate what I can and put the pieces together as much as I can as the years go by, and hopefully one day this will all make sense.
Just something fun. Okay, so the obvious conclusion, right? If you're down there and you're surrounded by that, you're picking up that energy. Are they influencing you in your words and how your writing is? The words were, I have come through, that's just a part of the Ghost of Santa Fe. I've come through 3 feet of lead and a vent to tell you you must repent. Now let's look at that for a minute. Again, we don't know what era they're from. We don't even know if these are the same people that are influenced his writing, right? But what if this particular one that was influencing him was trying to give him a warning to say, in their own way, something very similar that a lot of these ghosts who have not crossed stick around to try to help other people, to say, you gotta let go. You gotta, maybe other ways of like saying repent, but to make amends, you're going to judge yourself for the things that you've done. So don't let this happen to you, you know? I think that's very interesting. This young man seems to be very well together. I mean, I don't know. You know, if he's there 10 years, is he going to be opened up to more nefarious spirits and something like that? Yeah, find peace, Kathleen. Exactly. You know, make peace. You know, make it, you know, like they say, you know, make things right with your creator, make things right with your world, you know, get your house in order kind of thing. Make changes in your life. You are accountable. You know, again, we don't know what era. We don't know what words they're used to. We don't know anything about any of these ghosts. I would love to listen to these tapes, but I can tell you, I think over time it could become, he doesn't seem like he's obsessed with it. Doesn't seem like anything like that. Seems very healthy, very happy. And to him, it's more like an inspiration, a muse, let's say. But again, it goes with, you know, tonight's theme, voices, footsteps, sounds, reoccurring things, coaching for. You know, it's amazing how many ghost stories I know about horse-drawn carriages coming back. We know the one that goes up the stairs. That's that, you know, I think, is that Borley? It was close to somewhere around in there. But going up those castle stairs, and we hear it, and it's gut-wrenching to hear these horses being whipped and forced to go up these stairs, and you could still see the chunks taken out of the steps from back then. I mean, it's amazing, right? So I don't know. I don't have any answers. You know, I really don't. I just, again, like Steve and I say all the time, I have more questions. But we've certainly thought about it, and we've thought of different possibilities. But for this young man, it scares me that he'd be sitting down there and having all that, not even know where it's coming from. He feels fine with it. But again, I think it could be dangerous to be obsessed. Like we've seen it happen before. Like we talked about it. I think last week we mentioned it where Amy and Steve went in the Dead Files that one time to that motel, and that guy was like practically gone. I mean, he was so obsessed with communication, and this thing was taking him over. I think it can open up to oppression into, possession. It could absolutely happen. But is it his attitude and his, his approach and his personality and his frequency that's keeping him at that level? Is it true that if you stay at that level and above that, stay above that line of all the lower vibrational things, that stuff can't affect you? Can it be a positive thing to have spirit influence? I think it can. I think it depends on the person and it depends on the spirit. I don't think we can put everything, in the same box. And I think that's what everybody makes a mistake with, where, I'm still hearing people tell me, well, ghosts can't do that. Really? How many ghosts do you know personally? And, it's like saying you have a carpenter who builds a beautiful deck or does beautiful molding, crown molding in a house or whatever it may be. And then somebody saying, well, that man can't do that. That man can, but that man can't. That man is a baker and makes beautiful bread. That's how you're talking about ghosts. Ghosts were individual people. They're going to, if they have not crossed over, if they are earthbound for whatever reason, and there's multiple reasons, mostly free will. I would say mainly free will, choice, or confusion. You cannot say that all ghosts have the same ability. Some seem to have the ability to make you hear sounds, whether it be your name, a mimic, such as you heard your mom call you in her voice, but she's not there. She's still at work or wherever. So many different things. This is an amazing subject with absolutely endless layers. But tonight we talked a little bit about sound and the effect of sound and the effect of frequency. And I love the fact that you guys are talking about TV programs and, music. We know that music can have an effect. I heard a story the other day, you guys might know this, where a guy found out that, and I can't tell the story the way it needs to, I can't do it justice, but he found out that there's a certain frequency in a lot of classical music that is a very healing energy. He found out that, why do the birds sing first thing in the morning before the sun ever comes up? He found out, and I'd love to find this study for you and bring it forth because I thought it was brilliant. He found out that the birds start singing before the sun because there's a certain frequency in their song that actually affects the plants, the leaves, the grass, and everything else to almost open up. Okay, almost like your pores in a warm situation where your pores react to steam or whatever. Their pores open up to the frequency to receive the dew from the night before and then get ready to receive the sun. All set off by the chorus of nature's song before the sun ever rises. So he decided that he was going to play classical music in his cornfield. He was a farmer. And he played classical music. Everybody in town laughed at him till his corn got 15 feet high and produced more than it ever had before. There's a reason for sounds. There's a reason for frequency. There is a reason for the birds that sing. And I think they're all telling us something too. So again, like the intro, like what I told you today, the intro that said, hey, you having a bad day? You got to laugh. You got to dance. You got to remember that love is the most important. And you might not always agree with somebody else, but they absolutely have the right to feel that way. And sometimes the worst thing you can do is just be angry and forget that love is the most important thing. If you can do whatever it is, if you can get through this fight, whatever battle you have, with love, and you're going to come out better on the end. Try to do it with that. Take care of yourself, and maybe this guy is giving us a good answer. He's making music that makes him happy. He doesn't seem like he's oppressed and controlled by it. Could it develop to that? Absolutely. I can't say it couldn't. Did it? I don't know. I don't know. I think some of us get out of it okay, but I think it has a lot to do with us and the way you keep that light on and you keep that intent up. Even if we forget, we all have bad days, we all go through stuff, and we're going to need it. So pick your frequencies and your friends wisely. And if something is making you feel caught up, shut it off. Turn off the radio, turn off the TV, whatever it is, watch something happy. And I'd love your suggestions for, I am running out of Midsummer Murders. I have seen all the Hercule Poirot. I have seen, what was that one? It was a doctor. He was kind of a bumbling idiot. It was kind of agoraphobic, but it was a good little show. I think it was Doc Martin? Watch those. So I'm going to need another mystery. I would love for it to be something like the Midsummer. If there's something out there that you guys suggest, please send it to me, because I'm running low. I'm on my second time around, and I'm running low on seasons. I love the way it's written. I love the people. I love that it makes you think. They really got me the other night. Boy, I was like, I didn't see that one coming. Different readers and different things. Doc Martin. Yeah, that was a good one. Monk. I watched that a long time ago. I'm looking for like a good British. There's a lot of them out there. Like a Miss Madame Markle, I think is one, and something other. I was never into the Murder She Wrote stuff, but I want to see more of how they. I really enjoy the Britain TV. It's just simpler. There's not a lot of hokum in it. Maybe you guys see it different if you're used to that. I don't know, but I'm really finding it refreshing, and it's really nice kind of regroup, kind of thing. But send them out to me. Think about it. Tell me tomorrow, and if I could get it on YouTube, that would be even better. Or, one of those. So I love you guys. Tomorrow, Steve will be here. Of course, hit the like on your way out if you'd be so kind. Thank you. Yeah, it wasn't bad. Miss Marple, I haven't tried that one yet. BritBox and Acorn. I'm going to give it a try. I watched the British Ghosts. Liked it better than the American version by far. But a couple other ones, maybe an older one or something like that goes back. It's been very interesting to travel through all the towns, and boy, they kill a lot of people in Midsummer. I'm telling you what, anywhere from 3 to 4 a night. And what blows my mind is these detectives aren't carrying guns. The cops seem to, when they come to pick up everybody and throw them in. But man, the sergeants really get all the stuff. Poor, Sergeant Troy. It's like any car the door that has to be busted in. He's the one that goes through it. He's always chasing people in a suit and dress shoes. So I find that amazing. I find it very refreshing. But so we're going to do that. We're going to start on the sharks and do a little bit of nostalgia. We're going to take our time with it. And I really want to tell the story, because I think the victims, of these shark attacks, it's quite amazing. I think it's amazing how well they captured in Jaws the greed of not wanting to tell people, not scaring people, because they didn't want to shut down the town and lose the money. It was a big heat wave, and there was a polio outbreak. People were just trying to get out of the cities, out of Philadelphia, New York, and just get out into the open air where everybody thought the salt air was so much healthier and stuff like that. And it was just a very similar, like I said, to the movie Jaws, but very real. And even in 1916, people were doing stuff to fool the public and to manipulate, and money was king, and power, and the people that had the power and the money, of course, were doing their best to lie in the faces of the poor working people and the upper middle class that were just trying to get away for a little bit and take their kids out and stuff. It's just it's a story worth telling, and we're going to do our best to tell it. So lovely scenery in the TV series of which one? Check out Pluto TV, the British shows on that. I certainly will. I certainly will. I'm looking for good writing, and usually the way I think, if they don't get me in the first, 15 minutes, next. It's like a feeling. It's like slipping into something that, takes you away for a little while, and it's got to be good. So I'll try some of these out. Columbo, Columbo was really good. I like some of those older shows like that, but I'm just really, like I said, I'm really enjoying the way they're talking about all the villages. And it was funny because, Barnaby, Detective Barnaby, the first one, was saying, because they changed halfway through, the place with the cousin, and of course he retired. I hear he's a lovely man that now does dog rescue and lives on a farm, and it's just a lovely guy. But anyway, he said, why would you live in one of these villages? They are filled with sexual debauchery, blackmail, rumor, and murders. And it was so true, because any one of these towns, it's like they go into these little, parishes off of all this Midsummer, and 4 or 5 people are they get, and then they have to figure it out, and it's usually, blackmail and adultery and this and that, and it was just so funny. I'm sure there are still villages like that, but the way they're set up too, where you have your lords and your ladies, and your peasants, and there's such a difference. It's not unlike here, where you have your flashy rich, and your people that would pay $5,000 for a daggum purse. Every time I see that, I look and I go, gosh, I could feed 5 families for a month on that. But again, it's their right to have it. It's the personality that would choose it. And I think the personality that would choose material things over their humanity and helping your neighbor, you know what I mean? Or I always find that disgusting to me, and that's happened through every kind of, go back with kings throwing, coins at, the peasants as they went by, or, it's the same as people going by homeless and saying, get a job. And now we've got more homeless in the streets and more people fighting. So we're going to keep the lights on, and we're going to keep trying to sort out this whole paranormal thing, and we'll sort out mysteries, and we'll try to sort the conspiracies, and we'll find the truth where we can. And we're going to keep telling each other about the lies, so we can better understand them, and we can better pass them on to our kids, so they can discern for themselves coming up. Shaun of the Dead. No, I'll probably go back and watch all the Hercule Poirot's again, because gosh, he's just a little character, but boy, he's smart, Prime Suspect. I hadn't heard of that one. But I'll go in and I'll look. I'll check the BBC, and you said it was on Pluto and some other stuff. I'll check and see on that. But like I said, I got to find a new one. Inspector Morse, is he on detective? Yeah. I'll tell you, I didn't like, I know you're going to get mad at me, but I tried to watch, like Penny Dreadful. Didn't like it. I felt like it was like, it didn't suit me. It made me feel darker instead of lighter. And that doesn't mean that I don't watch horror, because I can watch some stuff, but I can feel the frequency pulling me down. Like American Horror Story. I got like 10 minutes of that, and I'm like, all right, horror porn. It's just, might as well be Saw or anything else. Is disgusting. It wasn't an American Horror Story at all. And any story that they really tried to tell, they told it wrong. It was just annoying from the get, from head to tail. I like the older Sherlock Holmes, like the Basil Rathbones. The new one, I thought he was kind of mean, to what's his name? Watkins. Did I get that wrong? Terrible names. But I just thought it was mean. And I hate watching any kind of, I can take a cheeky air, and that kind of arrogant, kind of thing, carrying a person when they're, like the Sherlock Holmes would kind of have. But I think the older ones weren't as, he was matter of fact, and he was, elementary, my dear Watson. It was elementary. But there was more of a camaraderie between them, where it was this one. Yeah, Watson, thank you. It wasn't, it was just meanness. And it wasn't that Cacciatore Cumberbund or something, whatever his name is. Hi, Ishkabibble Cumberbatch. Was that it? Am I close? All right. Well, that's his name now. But anyway, it's got to be a little bit of everything. It's the writing, it's the directing, it's the acting, it's the people, it's the scenery, it's the whole shebang, So we'll keep looking. We'll find something. I'll try some of these and look, but please don't be upset if I watch it and I'm like, okay, I made 15 minutes, but I can't get through. It's not because I'm a snob. Maybe I am in a little ways. It's like I'm looking for a certain feel, and it's got to take me away, and it's got to be strong. Benedict Cumberbatch. I like mine better, Glenn. Don't you like mine better? Cumberbund, Benedict. Wow. Okay. But that's what I'm looking for, and I'll let you know if I find something. But I do love those mysteries, and this life is a mystery. And all I can tell you is, love is the way, light is the way, friendship, try to be cool to one another. Try to understand when somebody just thinks different than you and wants to move in a different direction, and that's just fine. Everybody gets to choose for their life, and that's just the way it is. And you got to do what's right for you. I love each and every one of you. Thank you for being here with me tonight. I'll see you tomorrow night. Thank you for the thumbs up. All the new subscribers, welcome in. Like I said, we try here. We try to bring out, make you think and look at things a little differently, and I don't know any more now at the end of this than coming in, but you guys really made me think. I hope we made you think a little bit more on it, but I just don't think we're ever going to get at the answer to this. I think Lindsay had the best thing. We'll know when we get there. And when she put that up there, I thought to myself, will we? Are we allowed to know? I think it's funny that maybe when we get there, we might have it all at once. Maybe it's not, we're told. Maybe it's that we remember. Maybe it's that we remember. And we were made to forget when we reincarnated here. And I meant what I said on my social media when I put out. It's like, due to personal reasons, I am not reincarnating back on this earth. Not next time. I think I'm going to try to stay over there and try to help people from over there. Because, man, this is a rough one. But we're going to get through it. We're here for a reason. We're going to get through it together. If you turn something on and it makes you feel worse, shut it off. If it tastes yucky, spit it out. If it feels bad, stop doing it. And if other people are trying to make you feel that way, stay away from them. Okay? And that's dead or alive. How about that? That's a good way to end it. I love you all. See you tomorrow night. We're going to talk some sharks, maybe, because it's me and Steve. And we might talk about cupcakes all night long. I'm not sure. I love you all so much. Thank you for all the wonderful Wallander. That sounds familiar. For all the good things, and think about it too. Go in there and look and see what took you that way. Good writing and things like that. I need to think. Agatha Christie was really good. Some of her stuff I like. I don't know, but we'll find something. I love you guys. See you all tomorrow night. We are on our way out of here. Send good love and light to each and every one of you. Thank you for being here tonight. And we are out. I love you. Keep your feet under the covers. Keep your closet door shut, because I'm telling you, things go bump in the night, baby. Good night, everybody.